Hello, and welcome to the Canadian Story, where we discuss what Canada is, what Canada could be, and what Canada should be.
Welcome to another episode of the Canadian Story. I'm pleased to be here with my new friend Odie that I just met a few days ago, but we had such a stimulating conversation in person. I was like, you have to come on my podcast. So Odie, welcome to the show. Why don't you share with the listeners a little bit about yourself, where you come from, why you love Canada, and more importantly, kind of what got you interested in coming on this podcast and your story. What is your Canadian story?
Oh, well, I hail originally from Nigeria. It is actually the most populous country in West Africa. So it is about 200 million people thereabout. So I come from a family of 5 kids. I happen to be the second out of 5 that my mother has. And my Canadian story is started a long time ago. It started like when I was a child. It started from me watching movies of Christmas and seeing another culture, seeing another lifestyle, seeing another climate, what I saw on the media, the storytelling concept that, the movies had played a huge influence on me because I was able to gain a window into another world. I would pick Home Alone in particular. Home Alone actually impacted me, because of Christmas, like kids like me having a different life with family. We didn't have that. Our setup is different. It's different. The African setup is different, but that was what I wanted. I wanted that, that freedom, being able to like travel, speak your mind without consequences. I was able to, I wanted the ability to, be different and not be, condemned for it. I just wanted to think outside the box, and storytelling was that way out for me. And I asked myself, where is it possible? Because I looked around, looked at my environment. I saw it wasn't possible to have that kind of life where I was at the time. And that was when the dreaming started. So like growing up, I always wanted to go to, higher institution in somewhere in UK, United States, Australia, somewhere that had the Western, concept of or standard of living, And because we are Nigerians, we were educated by the British, or let's say colonized by the British. English is our official language. And we have approximately, I can't say for sure, but we north of 300 languages.
Wow.
So,
300 languages. Wow.
I might be wrong, off by maybe 4 or 5 figures or thereabout, but it's a lot. There used to be a song back then. Part of the lyrics was every kilometer you go is another language.
Wow.
so I mean, like Nigeria is so diverse that our cultures were like so similar, but we're different. In languages, right, colors, different things. That we're just clustered in just this one place. So I wanted to be outside. I appreciate everything, but I just wanted out personally. So I came here in 2012 and happened to attend a very liberal college. I didn't know it was liberal. I didn't know the meaning of liberal, all that. I was plunged into it, by force. Like I first heard the word. Someone told me I made a comment about feminism one time, and a friend came up with a comment. I was like, "You're not politically correct, are you?" I was like, "What's that?" And I had to go look it up. I learned the meaning of political correctness, and I was like, "Oh, I think I've been really off with my attitude because I always said what I felt. I always tried to express what I felt. I didn't care about how people really took it. I wasn't conscious. I wasn't sensitive to that. My eyes had to open. Because it was like I was being watched. So I was like, oh, this is the kind of guy I am. I'm this brash, sensitive guy who offends people and just says what he wants to say, says what's on his mind without minding what people, feel about it. So for me, I learned late. I was kind of I'm like a slow learner. So it was in my second year that I started being, paying attention to my surroundings, and I was like, oh, this is why this place is like this, because the moment you walk into Memorial University, which I went to, I happened to go to the Corner Brook campus. It's a small, Corner Brook is like a small town of 27,000 people thereabout, small communal, loving people, always throwing back a smile. I love them to death. But however, I discovered, they were always very hush hush.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. Go into that a little bit more, because I find it so interesting. We haven't had anyone who spent a lot of time in Newfoundland yet on the podcast. Okay. So tell us, why don't you describe a little bit for the listeners, because there's a lot of Canadians who haven't even been to Newfoundland. So why don't you describe a little bit to Canadians what Newfoundland's like from your perspective?
Oh, from my perspective, Newfoundland is like a geological relic. It's if you live on the island, you wouldn't appreciate the island. Like it is a magnificent island. The way it's formed, separated. It's so unique that it's rock everywhere. It's like a giant piece of rock, and it's something that it's a place where people are so communal and everyone kind of knows everyone, and everyone is somehow connected or related to everyone. And it is mostly the inhabitants of Newfoundland are mostly of Irish, Scottish descent. So you might find, like, if you end up in a shipwreck and you find yourself on the island, you might think you're probably in Northern Ireland somewhere, But Newfoundland itself, it's a place that, like, it has so much potential that it's like a nation on its own. It's like a whole country. It used to be a republic. They still rock some people still rock the pink, white, and green flag of like the Republic of Newfoundland, but it is a magnificent place. And what I find about Newfoundland is, there is a dying, how would I put this? There's a dying population. Like the baby boomers are dying out. The historians are dying out. The people who have calluses from all the hard work and can tell you stories of the cold and how hard it was when they settled on the island. That part of that population is dying out, and their values are not being replaced. They're being replaced by, I would say, the educated youth, and Newfoundland touches me in the heart. My wife is from Newfoundland, but aside from that, Newfoundland is a place that comes to my heart. It is. I think I have a sense of place of belonging in Newfoundland, because it's a place where you're welcome. That you're like, it's not my home, but I feel at home there. Like it's a place where dreams, ideas come. Just being around the landscape, being around the waterfalls. Although we don't have long summers.
Yes.
We don't have the long summers
and very long winters, right?
yeah. But there's still this kind of hope, or like a promise of a better future. I see a better future in Newfoundland. There's still hope of agriculture, because a lot of all this young youth in Newfoundland are leaving home because they have to find work elsewhere. And when I go back to the hush hush thing, it's a place where people shy away from uncomfortable subjects, uncomfortable topics. I tend to bring up sensitive subjects. I call it sensitive because in this environment it is. Like where I'm from, we say everything. We say whatever we want to say. We talk about this. We're free to debate. We have debates from elementary school to junior high at different levels. It's what we do. We always challenge ideas. So it's something I find that is not encouraged around in the area. It's something that is shied upon because of the fear of maybe violence or violent words. There's this fear of the unknown, and people are afraid to be uncomfortable, to discover. Without offending people, you can't really find the truth. And that's the reality I find in life. Sometimes you offend people and you don't even know you've offended someone until you find out later, wow, this is how this person thinks. Like the words we use, like, gay used to mean happy. Personally, I use it in a different way without any feeling. But in my environment, I have to change because it affects people in a different way. Personally, I have no, ill will towards the word, but that's how people feel. It's like I have to be sensitive to people's feelings a lot. So Newfoundland changed me, in a way, because it taught me how to be more aware, to listen more. And,
right.
To listen more, because I used to be out of all in my family members, out of all the kids, they call me the most quiet. But when it comes to some kind of topic, I can't be quiet. It's just like my mouth just leaves before my brain, like Donald Trump. But,
well, no, you're probably just a verbal processor, right? You probably process information verbally. Yeah. You were mentioning something that I want to touch on before we move on. You were talking about like how great it would be when we were talking to make Newfoundland like Iceland. Right? Why wouldn't we?
Exactly.
Why couldn't we?
Yeah.
Can you speak to that a little bit? I really liked your perspective on that.
It's very, very simple. Like I watched a video on Iceland and I saw the features they have, like the geological features, like the volcanic pools. The volcanic pools, it's crazy, but they made a national tourism campaign video. They had a naked guy and a naked girl walk across for like I'll say 4-point-something seconds thereabout, walk into a pool. And I was like, look at how far are these people willing to go to promote this small island? I know people could raise their eyebrows and all that. And I look at Newfoundland, I look at what do we have? We have less ice. We have a longer, greener summer. We have more land, more inhabitable, like usable land. I won't say we have the exact features they have, but we have cultural, geological, natural attractions. We have even the native, the cultural, the old. There's so much to begin with. We could food festivals in Newfoundland alone. We could use that as ways of reducing. I don't want to be in a competition with Iceland, but all the 1 million customers that go to Iceland every year, we could bring at least 500 to Newfoundland. That would increase revenue alone, because you have to create the dynamic of appreciating where you live.
Yes, go into that more. I want you to talk about that, because as someone who's decided to like, it's so important. The Canadian story. My ancestors came here for a better life, right?
Yep.
You came here for a better life.
For a better life.
Now you've found a place you want to call home, whether that's Canada or Alberta or Newfoundland, right? It sounds like Newfoundland is very dear to your heart, right? You found a sense of place. Can you explain to listeners what it's like to find a sense of place when you grew up not having a sense of place, the wanting to go somewhere else, that wanderlust, that thing that drives humanity to explore, to excel, to discover? That's in you, right? Okay. 99% of human beings never leave the country they're born in. Like, never, not leave to travel. I mean, that never move somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
So you're part of that 1%, but everyone pretty much in Canada is part of that 1%. Even the First Nations are descended from people who came over the land bridge. You know what I mean? So I think that's such a core part of the Canadian identity that we don't talk about enough, is this desire to go out into the world and make a place, but then find a place. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, like I want to define sense of place, and I want to touch up on the identity you mentioned. That identity thing. It's the identity thing for me. It's a question. I ask, what is it really to be Canadian? Like, how do you define a Canadian? Like there's, like make jokes in Nigeria. There's so many ways to tell in Nigeria in the public without knowing it's Nigeria. You can tell
right, yeah.
There's so many ways of telling. Like when I came to Canada, for me, sense of place, I define sense of place as this feeling of peace that I can be accepted in an area and I can feel free to dream. And without having, because I grew up experiencing the military regime.
Right.
And we transitioned to transitioned I think we're in a fifth republic now, if I'm not, I don't hold me on that, but you know, we transitioned in '99 to a democratic government, and since then we've been democratic ever since, and it's new for us. But there was this before the transition, there was this hype, there was this feeling of uncertainty. We didn't know if the country was going to break into a civil war. We didn't know if the country was going to be at peace. You know, I felt that same feeling 2020, 2021. You know, it was during the trucker convoy, you know, that the hope, I don't know, the fire just went back up.
The courage, right?
The courage, I stopped literally being afraid. So my sense of peace, my sense of place it comes from the environment. Like, is there going to be peace here? Is there going to be stability? Can I live here? If I build a house here, would it burn down? Would I have to move? How would my children fare in this kind of land? You know, what would I see? Where would I see myself 10, 20, 30 years from now? That's a sense of place for me. A feeling of peace that I could get a better life.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, that's
I think
my
that
definition.
is I don't know, Zach, I don't think we've ever heard that as defined by a sense of place yet.
No.
I love that.
So I did want to ask a question. You talk about coming from Nigeria, wondering about civil war, wondering about being worried about a military regime. And I don't want to draw like too strong of a correlation between what we're experiencing here in Canada and that, because they're two different things. But did you observe similarities in what you felt in Nigeria to some of the strong-armed government movements in Canada during the pandemic, or were they two entirely separate things to you?
They were the same thing.
Interesting.
And entirely the same thing. Same movie, a different direction, the same storyline. It's just like a retelling in Hollywood.
Wow. Okay, go into that more. Explain that more.
Yeah. You know, just like a good example. Let's say Moana, Tarzan, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White are the same movie. They're told in different ways.
Yep.
Nigeria and Canada is they have the same problem. It's called corruption. But it's the same struggle, a different location.
Yes, go.
Same person, different sin. You know, somebody's, you know, okay, you see two men. One is homeless because he's addicted to drugs. Another loses his wife because he can't stop, he can't stop sleeping outside marriage. Two sins, but the same effect. The effect is the destruction of the man. So Canada is being destroyed. How is it being destroyed? How can you destroy a country? Like, let's say, imagine, okay, let's take a beautiful country like Canada. If I want to destroy Canada, where do I start from? I start eating at the roots, at the core values, at the foundation. What's Canada's foundation? How was Canada founded? Why was it founded? Who were the people that founded it? What were the values of these people? What did they teach? Are these values being upheld now? You know, why are they not being taught in school? Why are people, like, I grew up, when I went to Corner Brook, I noticed there was something that was unique about, I would say it's unique, I would say it's a problem because it's not right for you not to be proud of where you're from.
Yes.
You should be proud of where you're from. Like, I'm proud of where I'm from, but I'm not proud of the leadership there. I'm not proud of the environment. I'm not proud of the way things are turning about. I love the land. I love the nature. I love the spirit of the people. I love the passion. I love the heart of the people, but I do not like the leadership. Canada lacks leadership. When I see Canada, I see Nigeria on the other side. Our flags are similar: green, white, green, red, white, red with a maple. I'm green, white, green with a red maple in between. You understand? I've seen like what I see in Canada, I've seen before. That's what I left. So my depression in 2020, 2021 was related to the fact that I left the place to come find a sense of place. And now that place is turning to the place I ran away from.
Oh.
Gradually. It takes time. You know, when I speak to, I have a couple of friends who are more advanced, who are like who are septuagenarians in the 70s and all that. And they tell me what's happening now, they saw it a long time ago.
Yeah, so that's true. But yeah. I think you have a lot of hope. So why don't you tell us why you have hope?
We're not like Nigeria yet. That's a lot of hope. There's a lot of young people.
What do you think we have to do to stop being like Nigeria, or like going in that direction of corruption, of letting our leaders destroy something beautiful, like what you talked about, the land in Nigeria, the people, the spirit of the people, but bad government has taken that away from them. How do you think we can stop that here?
I can't give you any strategies per se, but if I was prime minister today, I would start from a national orientation standpoint. You know, I have to make ads. I have to make, people have, high school students, elementary students have to watch movies. We have to watch history again. We have to learn about who we are. A lot of people don't know who they are identically. We're all the same. We're all related. In my perspective, because I use the flood perspective. So we're all related. Like people say, "Oh, you're black." No, I'm not black. I'm not a black person. My color is melanin. I just have a high percentage. I just look dark. My color is different from my dad. It's different from my mom, my brother. We're colored people. We're all different colors. So I'm not tied to a color. I just have a shade. So like I'll try to empower the young people to be able to think again, because we stopped thinking and we stopped teaching that in schools. People don't think. We just, we have this, we formed this Soviet style indoctrination standard, and we like tell kids how to think, and that's it. Prepare them for jobs, and we don't teach them where they live, how beautiful, how privileged they are. How they can make a life, how they can, make something. Look, Bombardier is a Canadian company. You'd be surprised how many Canadian, you see, Canada is just 35 million people now. It wasn't 35 million people then. But if you look at the past 10 years, 20, 30 years, Canada has not been in front in terms of innovation, invention. Canada is like the size of Europe. The potential of Canada is limitless. You have to come from outside to understand what the potential is. We live in a place where people can run for office without having their lives being threatened, without having their property destroyed, without having anything taken from them except from their time or the money they put into the campaign or whatever. You live in a country where people, no matter how hard it is, no matter how hard it is. I've lived in Toronto, a big city. I've seen homeless people. I lived in like Edmonton downtown, and sometimes life is hard, but no matter how hard it is, you will still find some kind of help. In Canada, the help might not be the kind of help you want, but there's always some institution, some avenue that can, help you out, be it, a Catholic organization or NGOs. There's always some kind of help in Canada. It's not something I experienced back home. So coming here and I see it, it's like, wow, this is a culture shock for me. People go out of their way to help people. Wow. Canada is always the first when it comes to humanitarian aid. They're always going out, helping refugees. When it's war, they're always on top. But we've reached the stage where we're not on top of our people. We're not on top of our, children. We're not on top of, the next generation. Years ago, young Canadians, 18, 19, went to war without a certainty of living. They just threw themselves because they wanted to fight for something they believed in. It was until, I can't remember the exact date the trucker convoy started, but I always believed Canada was a nation of cowards until then. No, that's what I believe. No, my paradigm shifted. And I was like, no, there are people here that I just don't hear them. I haven't met them yet. There are people like you who like really love this nation,
yes,
who would risk reputation to stand for the nation. So I'm like, wow, there's people who stand for what they believe. No, I'm like, wow, this is inspiring. I feel like I want to be somebody just because like they're ordinary people like you and I, but they refuse to be quiet.
Yes.
If you look at history, the atrocities that happen is because people stay quiet.
Yeah.
Like Canada, like we need a revival of information. We need to know where we're going as a nation.
Yes, we need a vision. We need a vision.
We need a strong vision. Like leadership needs to be instilled in all levels. I'm talking about the high school levels. We should know our next leaders from high school now. We should encourage debate. We should bring debate back. Without debate, because if your feelings are not hurt, you risk not growing. When your muscles don't care, they're not going to grow. That's just the reality of life. Things are hard. Without pain, you can't bring forth child. You can't bring childbirth. There's always some kind of pain before joy. Canada's. Sorry.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask a question on that topic because you said earlier that in Nigeria, growing up, there was a culture of debate, and you would constantly debate people, and that was just something that you guys did. You were able to say what was on your mind freely, and then you came to Canada and you learned that you maybe had to shut up more. So part of what I think we believe on this podcast and what we're trying to do here is we're trying to have those difficult conversations that people would like to avoid. But my question is, how did you find relating to your peers in Nigeria compared to whatever peers you were relating with in Canada? And how did you find you built stronger or weaker relationships in a culture of debate or in a culture of silence?
Wow. That's a very good question. I've never thought of it like that. Build a stronger relationship. Yes. Because most of the people my peers here are people I debate with. So it's like I was able to blend, but the people that accepted me for who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And then look, I have like friends who are liberals and who are like far left, but they love me to death because they know me as a person. But they wonder why does this guy think like this? Oh, why does he like Trump? Why does he like But I still I've always built a stronger relationship with friends that I quarrel with, because out of the quarrel you learn things. You learn how weak you are. You learn how vulnerable you need to be, when you need to make up and apologize and bury the hatchet and all that. So bonds are stronger with people who you debate with. So back to your question, yes, I believe my bonds are stronger with people back home, my peers back home, because I think that element of the element of conflict, being comfortable with conflict is something that we accept and embrace. I love you, whatever it is you stand for, or whatever you believe, that's what you believe. But we're still we're friends first, we're brothers first.
Yeah.
So you mentioned this to me when we were chatting briefly, but I want you to talk about what happened when you tried to start a debate society at Memorial. It's Memorial University. Yeah.
Yeah, it was that was an eye opener for me, because it happened in my final year, and personally I see that as a mistake, because I wish I had the idea earlier. I wish I had the idea when I first started, so I could have time to fail and maybe perhaps realize it in my third or fourth year.
Right.
Because I wasn't going to let it go. That was like, I told myself, I'm going to see the end of this thing. I'm going to see the end of this, because it was all clubs and societies meet certain standards. You need at least 20 people. they're requirements that are not hard to meet. But I found myself always being shut down. Why? Because I want to start a debate society. And I went to the dean of arts. I went to the people in power. And whenever I talk to someone in authority, I see them clenching their hands and they're like, there's a possibility that this might something that might escalate beyond. I'm like, this is a debate society. This is a university. We're supposed to disagree. That's what we're used to. That's what keeps our blood boiling. That's university. And they said, this one, I don't want to mention names per se, but because they're still friends of mine and I still love them. But they were like, this might lead to hate speech, or people might talk out of context. And this is what they suggested. They suggested a talk. Instead of a debate, let's have a talk where people express their opinion. But I said, no, a debate is a conflict of opinions to root out the facts of life, to root out the truth, the root cause, the root meaning. We have to get to the source. Debates make you research, it makes you study, it makes you, build up your vocabulary, it makes you seek personal development, and they wouldn't buy that. And they were like, it's too dangerous and nobody will approve it. The powers that be will not approve it. The student union will not approve it. I tried to override the student union and go to the dean of faculty, and he's like, he's going to think about it, and no one will talk to me about it. I'll walk through the hallways and I'll see my most liberal professors, talking to each other and, like talking about something. Because like a broke guy is just walking by trying to start a debate society. And I find people talking about me. I was like, what's special about me? Like, I just want to start a debate society, where people can argue and learn the truth, because you have to let people speak. Even if he's speaking nonsense or she's speaking garbage, you should let them speak. At the end of the day, you evaluate what you said and you decide for yourself if what you said is fruitful, useful, or useless. People should have that privilege to fail, to learn, experience that, the world is not the way you see it. Because I went to a daycare center for adults. I called the college a daycare center or the university a daycare center for adults. Because university is where you go and learn life, like, learn a different paradigm, to learn that, your mom's not the best cook, to learn that, wow, you have to do your laundry yourself, to learn, I need to budget, to learn life. That's where university was. But it's a place where everyone is safe. And, I learned the word safe space. And I was in a room and I said, this place is a safe space. And I looked around. I was like, wait, are they talking about me? Am I a threat? Like, I felt self-conscious, but they weren't talking about me. But that was my experience learning the word safe space. It's a space where you can be free to express yourself, you can be free to cry, be free to fail, and no one will judge you and you won't get hurt. In a debate, people get hurt. Sometimes I get hurt because it's a good hurt, because I realize I don't know everything. I need to learn more. I need to understand what I'm doing. I need to be sure of myself. It's a good way. It's left or right. You don't win all of them, but you learn from just preparing yourself to even show up to debate. It takes a lot of confidence. It's something most people lack. When I went to university, people don't look you up in the face. They're always looking down. They're not confident. It's what you go to university to get, confidence. You're supposed to go to university and come out a different person. But these days we go out and we come out worse. In my opinion, I believe a lot of people went worse. Like when I graduated, I felt this sense of emptiness, like I haven't gotten anything from university. It's like the real, true, honest experience of university. It's like everything was staged or, safe, preserved. I was preserved, like. So for me, starting a debate society was a way for me to solve the problem I experienced, because I didn't have money to fund. If I was a millionaire, if I had funding, I would have started it. I would have started maybe a YouTube something, but it was my way of solving the problem that I saw, people not communicating. I was like, okay, let's bring people together. I'm sure there's going to be a clash of ideas, but I see strong friendships. I see business partners after, this debate, because you make friends once you debate. It's not always negative. When I then looked to the negative, I was looking at, wow, this thing could make people more confident, because I didn't plan to be in the forefront. I just wanted to be in the shadows as, the guy who organizes things. I let people talk. I'm not going to be talking. I'm going to invite people to talk, and it was something that it hurt me in a way, because I felt it was my way of feeling discriminated.
Right. Yeah.
We throw the word racist all the time. Racist, it's a race. It's not a real word. It was coined by the Scottish lawyer Charles Lyell. It's like about 200 years old. It's not old. When you go back in the days, you can't find the word race. It's a recent word. So we throw racist. When the school hindered me from moving forward or embracing that debate society idea, was my way of being, or was their way of being racist to me. In my opinion, that's what I feel. I felt they were racist for not letting this guy, express himself, or let people express themselves in a safe, respectable space.
So I want to speak to that, because I think it's a really important point.
Yes.
Why do you think that this term racism is being used like it is, when, like you said, discrimination doesn't have to be just a matter. Discrimination around ideas is also a form of discrimination. I mean, it's not something I feel comfortable talking about, generally speaking, because I don't feel like, people don't want to hear my voice as a white, straight man on this topic. So you have more authority on this than me. So why don't you speak to why you think people are doing this?
Why? I think it's a form of virtue signaling. It's a form of virtue signaling. It's a form of virtue signaling, and it's a weapon of cancel culture. Because cancel culture is it's like I'll describe it like a sports team, let's say like a hockey team. The cancel hockey team. You have the goalkeeper, maybe you have the strikers, defenders. The cancel culture because cancel culture is by individuals, by the internet, by people like you and I, keyboard warriors, people behind the scenes, just gagging off against somebody for something he or she said or maybe did some time ago in the past. Cancel culture is it's hubris, it's human pride to say, because I believe in the end there's going to be, everyone is going to watch a movie of his life. They say before you die, your life flashes before you. Perhaps that's like a short strip of what you've done up till now, to the moment before you die. And that's what you're going to be judged on. But cancel culture tends to judge you for what, judge you for what anybody would do. Like there was a saying that if everyone's sin was to be exposed, nobody would be innocent. If we're to go to everybody's closet to take what everybody said. Look, I have friends who I love, but I know they've used the N-word so many times, sometimes in my presence. But I don't hate them for it. I don't it's not something I should hate them for. Well, I'm not said, made so many jokes in the past. I'll tell you straight up, I've made racist jokes, but I didn't make it with racist intent.
Right.
So, there might be somebody that might come down the line, maybe in the future, I might find something maybe I said because I thought a certain way at a certain time. And, along the line, down the years, my paradigm's changed. I had 2-3 kids, they're grown up, left the house, and somebody brings up something I said some time ago to use against me. So the whole racist thing, you see, the reason why they call people racist is because they know the effect it has on them. They use racist. You see, the word racist, the white male privilege is something they threw around on campus. White male privilege. The term white male privilege put men when I say men, I use men in particular because they're key figures of the society. They put men in the position where they're not bold enough or brave enough to express their own independent thoughts. They had to think in a way that did not offend the people or the women around them.
Right.
Check your white male privilege. I noticed my white friends could not comment on things which they had knowledge about. There were guys who were educated. When I say educated, I mean they travel. They lived in Africa. They lived in Asia. They understand the difference of cultures. So they're educated to speak on so many topics. I'm not saying you can't speak on a topic if you haven't lived in an area. You could be educated in different ways, but these guys are educated, but they get shut down with one word: check your white male privilege. You can't speak because
it's
you're
a form
man.
of silencing people. You're right.
It's a form of silencing. It's a Soviet style censoring. It's censoring. It's forceful censoring, because these guys, in their hearts, they know they don't mean evil, but they don't want to look bad, so they shut up.
Right.
And
it's actually their own morality is being used against them.
Against them. And Canada, we're nice people. I was gonna say we're nice. We're nice, like the first thing you hear about Canadians. Oh, they're nice people. I watch a TV show, Yellowstone, and someone's making a comment about Calgary, and it's like, man, if they keep being nice to me like this, I might just pass out or something. He found it weird, because living in the ranches where he grew up, there were ranches in Canada with nice folk. Canada is where you find the nice people. That's the way I see Canada. That's the image of Canada. Oh, those nice people. Oh, Canadians, they're special. There's nothing I could say about Canadians now. I used to say, oh, they're cowards, the passive people, blah, blah, blah. The only thing nice I have to say about Canadians is that, oh, they're nice. You step on a Canadian, wow, they apologize. It's weird, but that's what happens in Canada. You don't see it anywhere in the world. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen where I'm from. If you step on someone, you look at each other in the eye. Someone is trying to say, whose fault is it? You have to say sorry, and then it's conflict. But Canada is a place where the element of conflict is the last option. That's the last option.
That is, and that's a good thing. And I think that's a good thing.
It's a unique thing. You don't find it anywhere. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. In the States, it's all about, there's a Nigerian word called agidi, AG. It's about, the survival of the fittest. It's who's strong. He who has the power has the say. That's how it is where I'm from. If you want to be president or governor, how many guns do you have? How many billions do you have? Then if you want to be prime minister in Canada, you can be an ordinary guy with a great vision, a great idea, and great communication skills. You connect with the right people, the right base, get your ideas straight, get in office, fulfill your promise, and life gets better. But where I'm from, promises are like a foreign culture. Resigning for accusations of corruption, we call it foreign culture. They say that's foreign. It's foreign. You do that in US, Canada, or Europe. We don't resign. Corruption, accusation of corruption, does not our reputation is last. Our occupation is how we embezzle, how we make the extra, how we make the next meal. We don't care about public office holders do not care about their reputation, and their reputation does not affect their plans or whatever, because criminals run for office, thieves run for office. So in Canada, where you have a place where there's a limited form of transparency, then you have Justin Trudeau, or some Africans call him Justin Castro. He's the top public leader, and you can't question him. That's African politics.
Him, you're a small fringe minority with unacceptable views.
Yeah, he's the only one where his family, he can give contracts to his family members, and his mom can earn millions while he's in office, and he can travel and buy a yacht while he's just a young trader on Tesla. He's been trading stocks, and he just trades. That sounds familiar. That's taking me back. That is the same thing but a different guy is doing it in a different way. Stealing is still stealing. Accountability is what keeps people honest. That's why we have Take Back Alberta. That's why we have small groups that are just trying to connect with the people with the same idea, because it's about the people. And when the people realize that, the people in government start, shivering, start, pressing buttons to try to manipulate the media, throw you off, distract you. Oh, there's this crisis here and there. No, the crisis is leadership.
Yeah.
I see people, throwing blue and yellow flags. Like, I support Ukraine, but let's deal with the maple.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, there it is.
Let's put the maple out. You see, you could support to Ukraine. I love them. Put the blue, everything, but let the maple be bigger. The maple is what keeps because if the maple dries up, how can we be of help to the yellow and blue or any other country in need? We need to fix this maple. We need to the red and white. See, let our hopes run red like the red and white. Because Canada is something that it's a nation where I don't even know where to start, because I won't call it the new America, but we have a lot of potential that we can be something new. That generations can talk about us the way we talk about America.
The prophecy that was made over Canada a long time ago. It's actually a verse from the Bible, but it says, "The leaves of the trees are for the healing of the nations."
Well, I'll go read that again. Now you've got me started on something. Now I'll go read that now.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what it means, right? Who knows what it means? But I love that phrase. The leaves of the trees are for the healing of the nations.
So what does that mean to you?
Well, obviously on our flag, we have a leaf.
Okay.
I think that one of the biggest things, Canada was founded on the idea of two cultures that didn't agree on things, that had different religions, different backgrounds, that had been at war. It was founded on those two cultures saying, we're going to make a nation together, right? And I think that's unique in the world, right? It's unique for it's not unique for two peoples to live together, right? Like you said, there's 300 languages in Nigeria. That's not unique. But what's unique is to found the nation on the idea of harmony, right? Of peace. It's like you said, what are the two words that Canadians are known for? Sorry and A, right? And for me, when I say that the trees or the leaves are for the healing of the nations, I think we can become that shining light on the hill that shows the world what it looks like to live in harmony with one another.
Because we're at this point where we can't even disagree with words.
Yes.
The Canada was founded on people who disagree with swords, with guns and bullets, with things at stake. What do we have to lose if we come together and learn something new?
What if we
Canada is,
what if we loved one another?
You see, it's a word we throw about. We use the word love anyhow. We throw it anyhow. It's very, very powerful. It's an action word. You see the essence of a word. We in modern day that speak languages, we have alphabet. Those sounds, those letters have sounds, and those sounds, you need those sounds to make words. But if you go look at the Hebrew language, it has, you see, the meaning of a word is in the essence of the word is in the meaning of the sound.
The telos, the telos.
Yeah, exactly. So love itself is God's signature. That's his way. That's who he is. His like, if you want to put love in a container, if it's possible, if you could put it in a container and label it red, that would be like a piece of God inside. Love is something. What Jesus said about loving one another. He said, love your neighbor as yourself. In other words, what you want to do, what you don't like to be done to someone, you shouldn't want it to be done to you. If you don't want to be silent, you shouldn't silence other people. If you want to, if other people want to work, you shouldn't stop them from working. Treat other people the way you want to be treated. Like Justin, if you want, to have an opinion. We're not stopping you, but let the Canadians who built this country, let them have an opinion.
Yes.
We're open to opinion, but let other people have an opinion. You shouldn't call us Nazis or racist because we support an idea that is beneficial and instrumental to the foundation of this country. You can't call us Nazis for being Canadian because that is Canadian.
Oh, thank you.
Years ago, Canadians, there could be, and this is historical and it's mind blowing, but this is just historic. Canadians got into the war before America. That is, Canadians, the laid back, loving, kind, peaceful, cheerful Canadians, got off their backs first. The less populated Canadians jumped off there. People were running to Canada to escape the war from America. But Canadians didn't sit. They got on the road first. And this time, truckers did the same thing. But
yes.
Not with guns and bullets this time, but with horns and kegs and flyers and banners and flags. They went to war against the censorship that's taking place in Canada. It's already taking place. Because if the Prime Minister could invoke a historical emergency, it's never been used before. Never been used. We're not at a war. Look, Canada is so unique that we have a nationwide protest for something that hits us home to heart. We're angry about it. But there's no account of violence. Nobody fighting anybody in a protest. That's weird.
That's a miracle.
That's a miracle. That's a miracle of biblical proportion.
Yes.
Not one death or because my people died because perhaps maybe they were attacked. I don't know the figures per se, but there wasn't any clear-cut violence. People were loving each other, shouting out, food, pizza, there was barbecue, there was music, there was life again. Like when I had COVID during that period. I had a serious case of COVID. But watching YouTube, that was what gave me some kind of laughter. I couldn't wait to wake up the following morning to go on live to see, okay, what's happening now? Where are they? They went to war for us. Those are the soldiers. Whenever you see a trucker, you call him sir. You respect that person. Because, aside from going around doing the logistics to keep the transport alive so we can have food in our grocery parcels and all that, they still went out to speak out for our constitutional rights. A vaccine passport should not override.
I think one day we need statues to the truckers in this country.
No, we need that's a very serious thing to me. That you have to take it up with your MP. But they went to war for us. They stood up for us. They went with their kid, and God bless whoever took their kid, because they're teaching that child is going to remember. There was a time I drove in a truck with my dad to go speak out for this country.
Yes,
because this country is going the wrong direction. Canada is more about foreign interests rather than Canadian values. We have to go back to Canadian values.
There you go. Oh man, you're knocking this out of the park.
If I was the prime minister, if Justin close the door on the outside world for now. Let's create a world in Canada. Canada, the only place possible that I see that could have a home for utopia, for a free world is Canada. It has the possibility, potential, and provision for a free world, a utopia. The so-called, when you hang around liberals and they keep talking about their utopia, we have the materials for the utopia, but you lack the vision and you lack the attitude of realizing that. No, we have everything to have a utopia, but it's still 99% behavior.
Yep.
It's just when you hear what's his name, Dave Ramsey. You should listen to Dave Ramsey, or his podcast. He talks about financial success is 80% behavior and 20% head knowledge. Knowing about how to do something is irrelevant. Like Canada, we have everything, but we just have to do it. We have to go back to Canadian values. Is that Canadian? When you come to Canada, you're supposed to speak Canadian. It's not racist to say you should just. English is the language. French is another language. You got to learn these languages. You don't go to Japan and see Japanese youth or Japanese governments, Japanese professors being upset or being, concerned that you have to speak Japanese. No, they don't care. You speak the language because that's how you connect with the people. When we come to Canada, Canada embraces other cultures, but no, Canada needs to put up its values, its cultures ahead. Because when you come to Canada, you're supposed to forsake everything, leave your culture behind. Keep it in your heart, it's part of you. But Canadian culture is what we do here. The value, the Canadian system of government, the system of honesty, transparency, that's the system. It's going to take another 10, 20 years or Trudeau to wreck everything permanently. And we'll have no way back. This unaccountable way of life. You say something, you don't get repercussions. Somebody says the truth, and you cancel the person. And we keep seeing these things happening, and nobody says anything. So we must get to a point where we ask ourselves, who are we? Do we want to be? I bet we don't want to be China. You see what's happening in China is still about the people. The people think a certain way. They've been programmed a certain way for generations. So they're like, this is what we know. This is who we are. But they have a choice. I know there's one or two people that go astray and, think for themselves and they get punished. They get into huge trouble. They get thrown into labor camps, in China. You can't even be a Christian in China. You have to hide, you have to memorize the Bible. The missionaries in China, they're always trained for the possibilities of being, detained. They're trained. They're prepared for prison. We can't say that about Christians here in Canada. We've lost our real values. We can't say we can stand for what we believe in until 2020 truckers.
Yeah,
there's people here. There's people, but how do you get to them? How do you keep them encouraged? Because they are being, they're at risk of being canceled. Personally, I know I'm going to get offended or canceled because I was on this podcast, but that is who I am.
Yep. Yep. No, I appreciate. Well,
it's about.
We really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. It's about that you can't keep hiding yourself.
That was kind of what. Zach, you want to speak to that? Because that was kind of the conclusion that Zach and I came to, and a lot of why we're doing this. And I'm sure you'd like to hear why we made that decision. But Zach has a good handle on it.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we ever spoke publicly on the podcast about this, but when David and I originally started the podcast, the idea behind the Canadian story was just, we wanted to draw out of Canadians what that essence of being Canadian was. And we started it kind of at the beginning of the pandemic. And as we accelerated through the pandemic, David and I realized as the censorship ramped up and as the intensity of the whole thing ramped up, how important it was going to become to be able to say the things that were difficult to say. And that's kind of where we've taken the vision of this podcast. And I guess that makes you a perfect guest because you don't strike me as someone who's afraid to say the tough thing. And I think you talked earlier about how you might go about corrupting something as beautiful as Canada, and you say you go to the roots. And I think that is true, and I think the inverse of that is, at the very least, part of a complex solution for fixing the problem. We have to flush out the roots of the essence of what we are and go back to our strong Canadian values of being able to disagree with each other, believing in each other, being kind to each other when we disagree, supporting each other. And, I think it's beautiful how you tied in, the best way for us to be able to help outside of Canada is for us to be a strong Canada. And I think we need to refocus, like you said, on that maple leaf and become strong again. And so
that's awesome, Zach. And I want to bring out something else you said, Odie, that I really liked, where you said, love one another, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. Well, an important part of that loving your neighbor as yourself is that you must love yourself.
Yep.
And that comes down to Canada cannot help the world if Canada cannot love itself. And right now we're being taught to hate ourselves. And that is evil, and it is being done purely to destabilize our nation, and we need to stop it. We are not worthy of the hate that our institutions are giving us. The Canadian people are a good, noble, and strong people. The people who move here come here because they are noble and strong, and they have in their spirit the desire to build a better life. Just like you, Odie. So I want this message to be very clear. We will not surrender this land to the globalists. This is our country, and we're taking it back.
Amen, brother.
Amen.
Odie, thank you so much for joining us.
I wish you could make a song. You should make a song with those last words. You use that like as an intro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're taking it back.
We're taking it back.
I do have to run, so we're gonna have to wrap this up. But thank you so much.
Okay.
I hope that I have the great honor of buying you a beer sometime and hearing more about your history and your
I'm
culture.
more like a juice guy. I'm not a beer guy.
Okay, well, I'll buy you whatever you drink. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Odie also, we'll talk about this later, but Zach, Odie would like to start his own podcast. And I think that's exactly what Z Media is all about. So
we can definitely help you with that, good sir.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, thank you so much. And thank you guys for listening. We will see you all next time.
Thank you for listening to The Canadian Story. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at The CAD Story. That's The CAD Story. If you enjoy this podcast, please share it with your friends and family. Let's work together to remind Canadians how great our country is.